Tonight on CFTK-TV News, Prince Rupert's water main project isn't going as planned, a mountain biker got into a rather scary accident, and BC's political landscape could be in for a major shakeup.
Northwest BC's only television news team. We are CFTK-TV News.
Good evening, I'm Cale Baslett. Here's what's making news in the Northwest and beyond. A local archaeology consulting company is petitioning for a fix to the BC Heritage Conservation Act permitting and licensing system, with the problem reportedly being that it's too slow. CFTK-TV's Jaylene Matthews has more.
Cleanza is a small archaeological consulting company. Owner and archaeologist Amanda Marshall says her company is struggling to operate due to poor policy and is petitioning the government to make changes. Marshall says there's two main problems.
So there's two problems. It's the regulator being the archaeology branch in Victoria. They are in charge of managing cultural heritage permits, and the permits are taking way too long for them to review.
Marshall says these permits used to be reviewed within 5 business days, and now there's no such mandate, and issuing can take upwards of a year.
So it's hard for us to operate as a business. It's hard for any development project in BC to get an archaeological permit.
Marshall says it's also taking way too long for the government to grant a permit to an archaeologist.
I've got a job posting out for a permit holding archaeologist. I've been trying to hire people since 2018. And when it used to be we would get people applying for jobs, now nobody's applying. The people who are eligible to hold permits they're currently employed, not trying to move to another company. And so really, the pool of people out there to hire is basically zero. Like, there's nobody out there to hire.
Marshall says there is a solution to these issues and suggests aligning protocol with other industries.
So if I was granted a license to hold permits in BC, then with my license, I could do work, and I would have to uphold the standards of that work as a licensing archaeologist, and someone could audit my work. And that's the way it's done in like forestry, biology. You have professional foresters and biologists. They adhere to the standards of their professional association. So it would be great if we could align the BC Archaeology Association, which is the BCAPA, if they could align with the archaeology branch, with the government, to create a better licensing system, then that would alleviate the time frame it takes to be eligible to hold a permit. And it would be easier for people coming out of school to work towards getting their permit or their license. But the current system is just broken. It's not working. I've been in business for 15 years, and this would be a really lucrative, good year for us. We've got a lot of projects on the books that we want to get out and get done, but we're hamstringed by a lot of our projects just being held in waiting, sometimes over a year. It's hard for, I don't understand how British Columbians can see our economy growing or communities growing or even just making better infrastructure if we don't do something.
The petition currently has 146 signatures and can be found on change.org. For CFTK-TV News in Terrace, I'm Jaylene Matthews.
In terms of what was said in their budget for this year in a new 5-year financial plan, the City of Prince Rupert's major project that will see them replace their very old water main system is said to be behind schedule. This comes despite the fact that the project has only barely started, although the scheduling was said to be of the more tentative nature. The given reason for the slowdown is because the federal government was going to give out $77 million for the city to spend on the project, but the announcement of that money came relatively late in Prince Rupert's project planning, so it hasn't come to the city yet. The city was planning to spend $65 million of its own money on the project, but has since lowered that total to $33 million. Terrace Mayor Sean Bouitosh has announced he won't be running in the upcoming provincial election. In a statement, the mayor said that although he heavily considered the undertaking, the job requirements would not be fair to his family at this stage in his life. Bouitosh also said that leaving his role as mayor less than halfway through the term didn't sit right with him, and that he intends to keep lobbying for the city of Terrace and moving the dial on important issues at the municipal level. Not too long ago, a two-vehicle collision on the road led to the corner of Highway 16th and 16th Avenue in Smithers being closed down for a brief time. The incident happened in the morning, and the Smithers RCMP ended up having to go and respond to it and see what damage had resulted from the crash. According to the later reports from the police, the crash did result in some injuries, although it was not specified how many people were hurt or how serious those injuries were. Traffic in the area ended up being detoured for close to an hour because of the incident. As far as what the exact cause of the crash was, the Smithers RCMP are said to still be investigating, and more information could be released at a later time. Coming up next is more word on the fire near Fort Nelson. Welcome back. There was favorable weather recently for crews battling the Parker Lake wildfire near Fort Nelson that forced an evacuation. It's grown to over 84 square kilometers, and many evacuees drove 4 hours to Fort St. John to get away from it. And as CTV's Shannon Patterson reports, it's not only the fire that has people worried about their homes.
The North Peace Arena in Fort St. John is now an emergency support center for thousands of Fort Nelson residents forced to flee their homes when the Parker Lake wildfire raced toward town on Friday.
It was kind of surreal, actually. You know, it was just unbelievable.
So I'm a nurse. I work at the hospital. So I was working and got told they were evacuating the hospital. So I ran home really quick, started throwing stuff in bags, ran back to work, trying to get the evacuation thing going.
The thought's always there when the fire's around that you could be on alert, right? But then I never actually thought that we would be evacuated so fast from our community.
In just 6.5 hours, 7,500 Fort Nelson residents were evacuated. 2,100 have registered here at the North Peace Arena.
The uncertainty is really what's got everybody right now. You know, we don't know really 100% what's going on. There's people that are still up there that keep giving us reports and stuff.
Heck yeah, boys. Get her done.
On Tuesday, favorable winds, cooler temperatures, and a touch of rain helped firefighters hold the line.
I'm pretty happy with what I'm seeing here right now. And, you know, if it stays like this, you know, we might be able to corral this beast.
It's estimated about 50 people have defied the order to evacuate.
I don't worry about the folks that are looking after their livestock, because most of them have big fields and they have areas they can center and look after themselves. I'm more worried about some of the folks who are in town, particularly the ones who didn't answer the door, the ones that we don't know are there.
The mayor and residents are also worried about looting.
The scary ones are the ones that are here for nefarious reasons. You know, they're here because they know that the people are gone, and they know at times, you know, the RCMP are going to be short-staffed or out in the community, and they're going to be doing things that they shouldn't be doing.
Yeah, I try to keep my head clear and not think about it and just, you know, positive. Got to stay positive. If you don't stay positive, man, then it's going to be a losing battle.
All you can do is be positive. There has been like breakdowns and stuff, but you have to stay positive, especially when you have to be strong for other people.
They hope they'll be allowed to go home soon, and this wildfire in mid-May isn't a sign of what's to come this summer. Shannon Patterson, CTV News.
Now to the potential for a shakeup to BC's political landscape. Negotiations are going on between two political parties, hoping to upset the status quo. BC United leader Kevin Falcon confirmed that there are talks underway between his party and the BC Conservatives to see if a merger is possible. He says it's time to put aside egos if they want to beat the NDP. CTV's Rob Buffum has the story.
At a news conference on after-school care,
The Premier seemed preoccupied with the BC Conservatives and its leader John Rustad, multiple times pivoting from questions on topics such as federal Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre's views of decriminalization to attacks on Rustad.
Conservative Party, John Rustad, opposes that. John Rustad sat around the cabinet table and yet didn't allocate the money to build the hospital there. And if you'd like to go another direction, you want to cancel these programs, then you should vote Conservative.
The responses, the same day, the latest in a series of polls showing a tight race between the NDP and BC Conservatives, only separated in this Abacus data survey by 6 points, and the official opposition, BC United, way down in third.
Obviously, I'm not thrilled, by those kind of numbers.
Falcon acknowledged talks are underway behind the scenes between the two right-of-centre parties, exploring the possibility of merger-type options.
We have to put aside our own egos, our own party issues, everything else, and just figure out whether there's common ground that can keep in mind what the most important goal is, and that is making sure we don't end up with another NDP government.
Also today, the NDP reignited calls for Rustad and his colleagues to declare their position on abortion rights.
There should be a clear understanding of where he stands on the issue. What we expect from a premier is for him to reflect the values of British Columbians.
Rustad didn't state his personal beliefs, but repeated what he's said previously. His party would not reopen the debate or impact access.
The Conservative Party of British Columbia has no intention to open the abortion debate. That's a federal issue. The issue was resolved in 1988 with the court case, and we have no intention to address this or to try to raise this issue at all.
The NDP obviously wants to make a wedge issue out of abortion, probably over LGBTQ rights as well. But what really appears to be driving the Conservative support is not these hot-button wedge issues, but the cost of living issues.
Growing support that has caught the attention of the Conservatives' opponents.
Turning to tonight's weather, the North Coast will be partly cloudy with their low at 6 degrees. The Terrace-Kitimat area should get a chance of showers, plus a low at 5 degrees. And the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District will also see a chance of showers and a low at 3 degrees. On the North Coast, the week for them should be pretty much all clouds and rain, while the high shifts from 8 to 11 degrees. In the Terrace-Kitimat area, their next week or so will see a brief mixed sunny and cloudy day, but rain otherwise, and the high will move between 11 and 16 degrees. And in the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District, the upcoming week will instead only have brief rain and mixed sunny and cloudy days the rest of the time, with a high that bounces from 11 to 17 degrees. Checking out the highways now, visit Drive BC for the latest and up-to-date conditions, and as always, drive safe out there. On Highway 16, there is utility work, bridge maintenance, road sweeping, construction work, ditching, crack sealing, and paving operations. Highway 35 and 118 have some shoulder maintenance. Highway 37 has some road sweeping, road maintenance work, and frost heaves. 37A has bridge maintenance and road maintenance work, some road sweeping on the Nishka Highway, and the Telegraph Creek Road has muddy sections and frost heaves. And this is what the roads were looking like this afternoon around the region from the view of the province's highway cams. Still to come is a look at how housing projects in Vancouver are going. Welcome back. More housing is seen by all levels of government as a way to ease our current housing crisis. But Vancouver is nowhere near reaching the targets set by the provincial government for new builds, and only a handful of units are currently affordable. CTV's Isabella Zavarisi has more.
Billed as a plan to increase housing supply across BC, the province identified municipalities on its so-called naughty list and introduced housing targets to reach, targets that cities, including Vancouver, are failing to hit.
Well, certainly we've seen a bit of a slowdown in the market.
A report from city staff shows from October to the end of March, Vancouver has completed 1,600 units, despite a one-year target of 5,200 units. The city points to interest rates, rising construction costs, and labor for reaching just 30% of its goal.
Well, it's a little bit disappointing to see that they're short of the prescribed targets, but it's not surprising.
The CEO of the Home Builders Association says some members are still facing red tape with approvals and permits, but he's hopeful momentum will build.
We're not seeing sort of the fruits of some of the initiative that have been proposed over the course of the past 12 months.
When it comes to affordable housing, the city is also trailing behind, finishing 11 units in the last 6 months.
To have that deeper affordability, we need the support of the provincial and federal governments.
According to the report, there has been a decline in completions over the last 2 years, but there's an unprecedented volume of projects in the works. The report adds the city will meet the province's 5-year time frame to build nearly 30,000 units, but one pro-housing group disagrees.
I'm not confident the city is going to meet its housing targets in the future.
Local governments that thought they could do the status quo and meet the needs of our communities, it just wasn't possible. It's vitally important that they adopt the legislation that we brought in the fall so that they can start reaching their targets.
The province has previously said it could appoint an independent party to step in if a community is falling behind. Isabella Zavarisi, CTV News, Vancouver.
A mountain biker is sharing her story of what happened in the moments after a terrifying fall in the BC backcountry. A fall that left her with broken bones in her back and neck. She says without the help of search and rescue volunteers, things could have been even worse. CTV's Kevin Chirac now with the story.
In late October, Sarah Giles was out for a ride in the BC backcountry when she had a terrible fall.
And I fell 20 feet into like a creek, kind of blacked out, so I'm not exactly sure what I hit.
It happened out of cell range, nearly 30 kilometers southeast of Squamish, with her father trailing behind.
I mean, it's panic, right? I got word that there was an accident, 2 minutes in front of me, and it was my daughter. So until you get there, it's just, panic going through your mind how serious it really was, because no one knew anything.
Giles landed in a creek on jagged rocks and couldn't move.
I had broken my 6th rib. I've broken my T1 to my T6 on my spine. I broke my C2 on my neck and then fractured part of my C1.
As luck would have it, a member of Whistler Search and Rescue happened to be fishing in the area and came to help. Dean Giles also used a handheld satellite device. A signal received by Coquitlam Search and Rescue.
So we managed to land the helicopter, and our paramedic went over there and did a reassessment of her. She was in the back of the ambulance, and the decision was made to immediately load her into the helicopter.
The 17-year-old shared her story with CTV News at a recent fundraiser for Coquitlam Search and Rescue.
We do get some money from the government of BC, but most of it is fundraise through grants, events like this, and individual donors and corporate donors.
Money that goes to equipment and training for the near 50 volunteers who attend around 70 calls a year. After spending 5 days in hospital and many more months to recover, Giles says she's nearly 100%.
They did save my life, and it's something that I'm extremely grateful for.
Kevin Chirac, CTV News, Coquitlam.
And now we turn our attention to the stock markets. The Canadian dollar is up 21 cents. The price of gold is up $35. Oil is up 61 cents. Natural gas is up 8 cents. Aluminum is up $9. In Toronto, the TSX is up 41.42 points. The Venture Index is up 1.99. In New York, the Dow Jones is up 349.89. And NASDAQ is up 231.21. Still ahead, concern is still being raised over the World Cup being held in BC. Welcome back. In just 2 years, BC Place will host 7 matches in the World Cup, which will cost taxpayers hundreds of millions of dollars. Supporters say the city and province will reap economic benefits for years to come, but as CTV's Ben Milger reports, others fear the costs will outweigh those benefits.
From opening ceremonies to stunning goals and fan zones, FIFA certainly knows how to throw a party.
FIFA is bigger than anything that we've seen in our city. We're getting the equivalent of 30 to 40 Super Bowls.
Vancouver Mayor Ken Sim, a big World Cup proponent, spoke to the Surrey Board of Trade about what he sees as the regional economic impact of hosting 7 matches at BC Place.
I think it's wonderful news, and I just hope that here in Surrey that we capitalize on it and take every opportunity that we possibly can to promote it and to participate in some of the community events.
Sim estimates more than 2 billion viewers will watch those games on TV, which he believes will increase tourism for years to come, benefiting all of Metro Vancouver.
We can actually support more conventions because we actually have the infrastructure now, and it's going to spill throughout the whole region. So that's just one example of how amazing it's going to be.
One economist who specializes in major international sporting events doesn't believe taxpayers will see a net economic benefit from hosting the World Cup at all.
It is really a 2-week party. And there's nothing wrong with that if taxpayers want to pay for it. But if the mayor is selling that this is going to bring billions of dollars in benefits and this is going to help create infrastructure projects or lower taxes or unsnarl the traffic, he's wrong.
The estimated cost to taxpayers for hosting the matches in Vancouver is $483 to $581 million. Sim freely admits his projections for the economic benefits are not based on hard data.
I'm just basing it on, my own background and how I feel. And for us,
hold on. So you're basing this on a feeling, not because you've crunched any numbers?
No. Look, it's not my job to crunch numbers on these things.
With 2 years to kick off, the final cost could still be in flux, and the financial benefits remain hard to measure. Ben Milger, CTV News, Surrey.
That is all of our news for now. From everyone here at CFTK-TV News, I'm Cale Maslin, and thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.